Hello and welcome back. It has been a very long time since we've talked. This is update number 17. I just want to pull up this Google Sheet I have, Google Doc I have, just to go over a lot of the changes that you're going to be seeing. So, things that are crossed out is what we got complete. This is for much later. These are still some things that I would have liked to have done with this update, but I didn't. I had a lot of things going on this past couple months, mainly with some contracted work, which is really always wonderful to do. Anywho, so next set of character attacks, likely character ends. Yes, we did character end, which is Nambi the zombie. So it has a rapid jab, jab spawn adventure fading into 3D. You'll see what that is. Charge based off the Gum Gum Bazooka, heavy, Gum Gum Battle Axe with a hand. Change the universal UI controls for unpausing and wind speeds. See if that would solve the issue with it being disabled slash grayed out when you have two controllers in. I believe that was fixed as I have it crossed out, but I haven't played with two controllers in a while. Lots of using onCompleted for press to get this done. So it's basically just a matter of um, button presses happening on the same exact frame. So let's say it's on started here. Because it's on started, that exact on started is happening on another screen as well. So making it on release fixes that issue because you're no longer even pressing it for the next one. U and E were causing some issues when they were both pressed together, like the keys on the keyboard, because those were the original keys for the heavy attacks for player one and player two. Cause player one to not be able to jump but can still move. Cause player two to not be able to move or jump. Actually, sorry, it was the charge attacks. And since it was the charge attacks, it was more important because that was where the buttons that you would actually be holding down. Return to character select, player one and player two UI speeds and new modifications. They were just kind of broken. They were not bringing you back to the correct level. Simple fix. Just a matter of us having more changes with the way we do levels since then. Pause has been reworked. You can actually pause at any time now. So that's so good. There was a couple reworks I tried where it did different things, but I found different ways around it, namely because that skeleton that's in the background on the main stage right now, it would just fly off into existence. And we just kind of changed that. And so, yeah, pause a little bit too late. Actually, when screen shows up. Um, Check event now unloaded, unload controls. Yeah, there's a lot of unloading and reloading controls with UI controls, so you can use the UI controls on the pause menu and everything. So yeah, mostly just systematic things and our beautiful character end. So this might be a little bit longer to show than I thought. But granted, since these attacks don't have hitboxes yet, just like the previous one, as if you saw the last two videos, we haven't developed the last video for this robot character that's actually on screen right now. His attacks are all still in the game, but they don't have any damages they do. The same thing is true with character N. That is heavy attack. Boom. This is what it looks like in 3D. This is the charge attack. It has 5 different stages of charging. Once the fists are curled up, that's how you know it's fully charged. Boom! It can go pretty far, not full screen, but pretty far. So, even though you can move right now with it, you won't be able to later on. I just need to make a lot of fixes. I'm trying to get all the art in the game right now. But I guess more technically, your goal would be, because you can do it really short too. You go, boom, and it's kind of a pretty ineffective attack that's about the same speed as that. So why would you do that when you can just charge it up for a second and go boom? So the goal would kind of just be like jumping and then doing the charge attack, just to get a little bit of more oomph for your action. Though obviously this character's best move is still just feels like it's that, but when you're closer, it does way less stun. Though if you can hit someone like that on the back, a lot of stun. Then we have Rapid Jab, which has this really cool fade out effect. It's also even cooler right now because you can still move during it, which is not exactly practical, but it is what it is. That's the only other issue right now. Since P is a pause button, this character can do its rapid jab, but the button is right next to the pause button. So honestly, I feel like I just need to remove the secondary pause button, take P out of the equation, let it just be escape, let it be like a normal game. And then also, since things haven't been fixed yet, you can grab your skeleton out at any time, which makes it pretty fun for a lot of different things. But let's get some damage in. It'll be the same exact animations, of course, but this is it in its lower 3D form. Charge attack, fully charged charge attacks. Bam! And then rapid jab, which I love so much because it took so long to figure out how to get things to work. Not only just with making the transparent versions, because you have to have completely different textures, completely different models in my case, just to make it simpler. And yeah, they fade out of existence, and once they're faded out, they're destroyed. So this can probably kill the frame rate the most, is just that singular attack. So you can see the frame rate's kind of jumping up anyway, mainly because I'm recording this. And I think that was it for this character. Well, besides going to the next stage. Boom. Bring us to Vector. Heavy attack. Heavy attack. Pretty good, pretty good. Oh, you're right, I was talking about the layering. There was a weird layering issue with the transparency when you're playing as 3D and you have the things fading out. You had to set the transparency layer of the vest to be a layer higher so it appears over the body. And that was the simple way of fixing that. Rapid jab. So the thing is with a game like this, I always make the vector version first. So whatever happens here is kind of what has to happen everywhere else. And that's why the transparency became such a big thing, because I don't think I would have thought of that if I did 3D first. But since I did 2D first, I was able to come up with it. And then same thing here, just a lot more same thing, stages, boom. A bit obviously harder to tell when you're fully full screen because you can't see your fists, but yeah. Did some verification, they all go about the same length because this is like 5 times the length of the arm or something, and the math is the same across all different forms. Boom, 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 boom. I do like how there's a little charge up with and then it goes into rapid jab, which is true for the 3D forms as well. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, now we're in this form. Ah. Alright. My only thought is that I might potentially add a kind of ending jab to this, just so it's... Cause it kind of gives all this energy, oh, there's rapid jab, rapid jab, rapid jab. It feels like there should be a big old punch at the very end of it. That's based off the energy it's giving, which is kind of in line with the inspiration being Luffy. So that would actually work very well. And of course, this looks pretty cool once you're just kind of clashing it, though. That's not really how it's going to probably work in game unless I program it to do as much, which given how much I like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I could very well do. Charge attack. More charge attacks. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. And then, yeah. I don't think I showed the heavy attack. So let me just boom, 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 boom. And I know it's kind of hard to tell, but this is how things go when I press U and E at the same time. I'm trying to move both characters. I'm trying to even jump with this one. That's why we're not doing that anymore. I guess it didn't show up that we can pause at any time, so I'll show that off in a second. Ah! For some reason, this one looked taller than the other, and I was confused. Anywho, I also lowered the height of the character when they're in their 3D form, so they're closer to the ground now. So they've kind of been floating for a while, but with the new heavy attack, it became really obvious, because their hands on the ground. The blocking, that's also on the ground, so they actually have different heights, and it's... Technically, I just re-imported the heavy attack and just made it literally -1 on the Z-axis, so it's 1 farther down. Rapid jabs. That's the only thing that happens that's true. Because if you pause the game, the jab stays jabbing, so I guess I still gotta fix that. Let it finish off, figure out whatever needs to happen there, so that's cool. This one seems to fade a lot quicker, just because it's more noticeable, because honestly, low pixel is when Paper ZD looks the best within Unreal 5. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And the cool thing about this is obviously it's going to push you further depending on how far this goes and how close you are to them, because it's gonna be like a wall pushing you at the same time. Like, you're not gonna be able to get past this. It's gonna cause force on you no matter what. I just gotta figure out the mechanics of that, because the true thing that's about to happen is with this next character, I gotta figure out grabbing. And since I haven't done that in my game yet, it is gonna be a little bit funky. What have I not shown? Jab, charge attack, heavy attack. I've shown everything. Now he's got to show that we can pause whenever. So you should not be able to pause during this, as things faded out. And I realized, I think the text looked like it was still fading out, which is interesting, because it's on a timer. So actually that makes sense. But it is what it is. Point is, you can do this at any time. That was kind of sucky of me. I just kind of went back to loading screen, so we got to go back into the match. I'll re-show a couple things with 3D form, and then we'll call this a day, because I didn't bother opening up the Unreal Editor version. Which reminds me, I had to start exporting it through the game launcher again, because certain things were exporting. It wasn't giving me the different angle I needed on the heavy attack where the hands went straight forward. It was kind of just a mess. Okay, just have a unique air ability. I wonder if I should list them out, but if I start listing them out and I add a bunch more characters, that'd be an issue. By a bunch more, I realistically only mean like a maximum of 6 or 7 characters in this game, but still need to figure it out for underscore, which is the next important character, and then there's a boss character I need to work on for sure. So now the character's close to the ground, you can see their body close to the ground if you look at it compared to other games, or sorry, compared to previous videos. This hand is actually now on the ground. The thumb looks like it's going a little bit through the ground, but it's kind of the best it can be without modifying the animation itself, which I might get around to doing, because I have, with a lot of my contract work I've been doing most recently, I have been primarily doing things within Unreal Engine. I've been entirely animating characters within Unreal Engine. The important thing, though, is with this heavy attack, oh, it's hard to see with that one, the hand is on the ground. The hand is on the ground. Maybe it's a little bit floaty, but it's like, I could believe that's on the ground. So it works. And it's much nicer. If I restart this match, you'll see that I can pause at the beginning of it too. I guess that's actually not a fair point, because you can always pause at the beginning of a match, since the whole intro animation is not a thing in the game yet. Have I not shown something in the game yet? One of these changes. And obviously the other things to possibly include in the future would be a tip bar for the option menus, which maybe I'll include a lot of the option menus self-explanatory, and then doing something with the character select on random select, whether it's like a rotating question mark, or it's just like flickering between all the characters, which I think Dragon Ball FighterZ does. And that's like one of my favorite fighting games of all time. Because if I return a character select, there's a lot of options. And the thing is, with all these in-betweens, they're all made outside of Unreal, so all this text is unique only to the images. I just kind of had to figure out what I wanted to do for them. So at some point, I'm going to have to make a lot more tips, as I have way more attacks, but granted, the attacks aren't like fully implemented into the game yet. The point is, floating over question mark does nothing, and so it makes it seem almost like, oh, did it even do anything? And it did, but it's just hard to tell sometimes, especially when you give you like the same randomizations, because there's so few characters. But yeah, the game is at where it's at, and I've already shown that we can pause in the middle of a match, but it's all cool. It would be nice if I had some way to like influence what was coming up in the middle. I'm kind of gonna need to, I think, once you start having characters that you don't have unlocked, if they have in between screens, or maybe I'll just delay them having in between screens by like a week. But there has to be some way for me to influence it. I mainly just wanted to show off that you can pause in the middle of this thing again. Does this character still have a combo? It does. But how much of a combo? Jeebus. I had to like really spam that. There's like some way lag now, like, oh, the move is done. But like I can't press it. That's interesting. But you can pause in the middle of it. It just seems like a lot of the other stuff, they pause perfectly fine. But no, but it's a global timer that pauses, so why are the animations for the text continuing? How intriguing. As you can see, the frame rate disappears. Technically, the frame rate's trying to respawn itself, but it doesn't respawn itself anymore. This frame rate was the entire reason we figured out the new pausing thing. Where'd that skeleton go? Right there. That thing, the skeleton, that's like right around here. Let me actually just move my way over if I can. Remember the controls of my own game. Right there. It goes into a really cool pose. Like once you pause the game, it sets a pose and it stays in that pose. And maybe it doesn't happen when you pause the game. It happens after a certain time. Though I definitely want to set it to a point where it also happens when you just when you do anything, because there is going to be intro animations in this game, whether it's just characters flickering up from 0 health to 100% health. They will still have their own intro animations in their lowest pixel 2D forms. And either way, the timer of that, or just the fact of anything else, that skeleton is no longer an issue. It freezes itself. It no longer gets applied by physics after like a second once it's done falling. So it's all good. Thank you so much for listening to me. This has been a wonderful time. Obviously, this was mainly just showing off character Ed's moveset. By luck, we got him. I'm about to sneeze, so you all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.